All right, we're going to get started. That does look like an interesting contraption, though. All right, before we start, Representative Orrs would like to just address the committee.
Well, good morning, Representative
morning.
Orrs, representing Merrimack 13, Pittsfield and Chichester. And as some of you know, humor is my my release valve, my let's get rid of the stress valve. So I'm going to take you on a little journey. It's part of my apology tour, which I've already apologized to most of you in person because I'm really a nice guy like that. And if you've ever seen The Christmas Story is about two little lads that grow up in a middle class home in Cleveland, Ohio, on the shores of Lake Erie. And when I was a little lad, I grew up in a very similar middle class home, middle class neighborhood with my little brother James. We'll call him Jimmy. And our dad was a pretty rough character, and he could weave a tapestry of obscenities that would make the father in The Christmas Story shy. And having grown up with that, I became very proficient in other tongues. Some call it French, depending on who you are. And through elementary school, I think I was always the teacher's pet. Or maybe it was the pet project. Maybe I was a pet project, seeing how I'm looking at a teacher over there, Representative Ford. And over the years, being like my dad, I was a pretty rough kid. I never went looking for trouble, but I was my dad's son. And by the fourth grade, like in The Christmas Story, I had developed a taste for it. It wasn't Palmolive. I think it was Ivory soap was the favorite soap of choice amongst my elementary teachers. And I'd been paddled, and I'd had rulers across my knuckles more times than I can count. And just like in The Christmas Story, one day I got intentionally drilled in the face with a ball in gym class, and the young lad that did that to me, he wasn't in my class. He was in a different class, so he really didn't know who he was messing with. And he was laughing and mocking me, but I waited till my time came. And about 20 or 30 minutes later, I saw my opportunity, and I hit him so hard. He went down. He didn't know what hit him. I jumped on him. And this tapestry of obscenities apparently came out of me. It's still floating over Buffalo, New York this day. And it took a couple teachers to pull me off of this kid because I pummeled him. And when I got to the principal's office, I knew I was in trouble. That was the first time I got the meter, believe it or not. It took to the fourth grade. Maybe it was the third. But we became friends after a while. I was a regular. And I was a regular in high school. And my dad showed up, and I thought, oh boy. When my dad showed up, I was concerned because I figured my mother was coming to get me. So that means he took time off from his work schedule or whatever. And he told the principal, after she told him about all the nasty things I had said and what I did to this lad, that he said, I'll take care of him. And off to the car we went. And when we got out to the car, my dad's typical fashion, he said, well, did you whoop him? And I said, I beat the HE double hockey sticks out of that kid. And my dad said, oh, okay, great. Let's go get an ice cream. And that's what we did. I mean, that was my dad, and that was the way I was raised. And so as time went on, I had perfected my art of tapestry weaving. And like I said, I know it's still floating out there. And a couple weeks ago, when I let the word slip and I didn't say fudge, just like in the movie, I'm sorry I didn't say fudge, but at the time, that was the best I could do. And for anybody in here that thinks that, you know, I was the security person for the room. And if you think I need a weapon to take care of myself, you're sorely mistaken. I am a weapon. I wrestled in high school. I've taken karate. I've been in the military. I know how to kick it and take names. And I only carry a weapon in case there's like 3 or more, maybe 4. Believe me, I can take care of myself. So you don't have to worry about weapons. Not with this guy. And now, I think I've concluded that story, and you understand why I am who I am and why occasionally I might slip with a word or two. But I want to give you the good news. The good news is you aren't the first that heard that around this state house. So if there's any questions, now's your chance to ask.
I think we're good. We appreciate the apology.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
know the apology's well received.
Thank you. All right, now I will open the work session on HB 1420. And let me see.
So,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair,
yeah, hold on one quick
Sure.
second. Go ahead. I'm still looking for something here.
thank you. What we have in front of you is completely it replaces the original bill 1420. This is a result of a subcommittee that was formed to take a look at the elements of this bill and to craft something that would be understandable, digestible, and meet several of the criteria that we laid out of who would qualify, what business size would qualify for this credit, the media organizations, how they document their qualifications to for the advertisers to use those particular types of media, broadcast and new and print. So this is the result of that. I appreciate everybody working on this with us, with Representative Tierney and Representative Ohm and Representative Schamberg and Representative Opel. I think that's everybody. I think so. This also was crafted from work that is being done in Kansas and Illinois along the same lines here. So this is something that's moving across the country, and we believe that it would be useful here in New Hampshire and help accomplish some of the goals of helping keep alive local news, local reporting with more advertising support. And that's the general goal of the bill. And I'll be quiet there and let anybody else speak on that.
Representative Olm?
Yeah, thank you, Representative Malloy. Thank you for chairing the subcommittee. I think under your leadership, we did some excellent work on trying to vet the bill and get to the context of what we're trying to achieve. The bill itself was very complicated, trying to help local media. And I think we did an excellent job trying to streamline the procedures to make it very achievable in terms of vetting the potential candidates and providing a mechanism to compensate the advertisers to support local media. And I do want to say that it's a very important concept because we've seen local media go from a very dominant position of our newspapers, particularly the weeklies and the dailies, and they've basically declined, not through any fault of their own, but through the prominence of social media. And as those of us in the industry know, the print media depends very heavily on local advertisers, and that advertising goes away to other media, for example, to Facebook or to YouTube, to media that's not in New Hampshire. That source of funds to support local journalism is not there anymore for the local media. So Facebook doesn't have reporters at the city of Nashua where I live, or at the towns that the rest of us live, covering the planning board, the school committee, the budget process. There's no local coverage on that in this national media. So the bill attempts to get back some means to get local coverage by recovering some of this advertising revenue that's now going out of state. So I want to thank the members of the committee to try to streamline this bill, and hopefully we can get something going down the road that would be entirely acceptable to everyone on the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Opal?
I just want to make a quick point. I think we all recognize that there's been a decline in local coverage, not just in New Hampshire, but across the country. And I think that is, unfortunate. I think it makes us more, frankly, susceptible to misinformation. But I also, I won't belabor that point. I also think there's an economic benefit here, in terms of promoting advertising in local media, and it's not just, I think, having listened to the folks from the Broadcasters Association, it is not just print media that would benefit. It is also broadcast media, as long as they're providing some sort of local coverage. So, I think the economic benefit augments this bill, and so I hope we'll get it ought to pass with an amendment recommendation.
Other thoughts?
The is this we can make a motion to we're not in an executive.
No, this is a
right.
work session.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I yeah I know there is one issue here, I believe, with the date that we might need to address. If I recall, there's Jennifer was on 14/20. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I have a copy. So on this was actual take effect July 1st, 2026. That is probably not reasonable. That would probably not be a good date.
So for the effective date for this one, I think that's actually okay because it also explains that it's applicable to starting with tax year 2026. So
Okay, okay.
making it effective then just gives us time to implement
Okay,
it.
my mistake. Thank you. Okay. I really have nothing else to add at this point from my perspective.
All right, let me just point out the funding of this would be a 3-cent increase in the,
Tobacco.
we went back and forth on the tobacco tax, right? Okay. Representative Ullery?
Yeah. I know some of the parties that are involved, and I've used some of their I bought advertising about every 2 years. But I'm trying to figure out what the role of government is in a private business. And I'm not sure it would be to stack the deck, if you will, or at least give a couple extra cards to one side versus another side versus another side. If we live in a free economy, in an open economy, in a free marketplace, then the, as Smith called it, the silent hand is going to make decisions. I was down in Amesbury the other day. Very nice little town. But I'm just brought to mind, what if government had stepped in and mandated, or not mandated, but made it advantageous for every person to buy a whip from Amesbury? It's called Whip City because they used to make carriage whips there. I don't see how that helps business. I don't see how that helps. This business may hurt, but being a Luddite about it doesn't help. What you may lose a job here, but you're going to gain several over here. And as the commentary regarding electronic media, with the advancement of AI, you can pretty well check just about anything you want almost instantaneously. It only takes a couple of seconds to verify or find fault with, or to come up with an alternate opinion on just about anything. Oof, I hate to say it, but we do live in interesting times in more ways than one. And I don't see where giving a tax break to assist this industry actually helps everyone. And government's job is to help everyone, not this industry or that industry or some other industry. If we were to apply this to all advertisement, that would make sense. But to apply it to a limited type of advertisement doesn't make sense to me.
Representative Opal?
Well, respectfully, I think government has a role in providing support for public good. We do it with public education. We do it with public infrastructure, with highways, with other things. I think there can be no doubt that it is a public good to have access to information of a local or state nature that is not provided by national media. It's tough to find information about the Nashua City Council or the Canaan Select Board in the New York Times. Not impossible, but difficult.
Probably unlikely.
And you know, I think there is a proliferation of electronic media. A lot of it is nonsense. A lot of it is uninformed. A lot of it is not based in fact. So I do think that there is a role for government in supporting a public good, and I think having information about what's going on in Concord, in the governing bodies in the cities and towns across this state, I think is of real public good, and I think it makes perfect sense for this to we give tax breaks all the time for various reasons. I think this is a pretty clear case of trying to provide an incentive to support a public good.
I guess one thing I wonder is, I think it is good. I don't want to lose local media. However, when I just look at my own little case is my wife and I are landlords. We used to always advertise in the local papers. And sadly, we never advertise in the local papers now because it's just so much easier to use electronic media. We can change the rent. Okay, we got no leads in the last 3 days. Rent's too high, lower it. It just so it's almost like we're pushing against the tide in some way. You know, is it a dam that's about to break no matter what we do? Even though I don't want to lose it either, so I totally agree in the value of it. It's just that are we giving a tax break on something that may not be recoverable?
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think one of the reasons the subcommittee agreed to sunset this bill after 3 years was to that very point of, is this going to work? Is this going to encourage? And if it doesn't, then maybe let it go after 3 years. But this seemed like a relatively minor and a limited experiment to see if we could do something to incentivize, the continuation, the support of local media. If it doesn't work, then, I think we'll know that after 3 years. I think that's a reasonable time period and a modest investment of state dollars.
Representative Spar.
Thank you. I just want to. I appreciate the aspect, the Luddite aspect that Representative Ulrich mentioned, and I do think we are not really losing as much as we are shifting how we both access and experience news and information. And I do. And I do question the aspect of funding this particular source just because of whether it might be nostalgia or, as my colleague here says, a public benefit. I think that public benefit still exists, or at least the ability to get that news exists in different sources, whether it's listservs or other places. And yeah, I guess then if you look at the bigger picture, do we as taxpayers then begin to subsidize the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal? And these are papers that they have to learn to be able to, stand on their own. And if they don't, we'll be able to find our sources of news somewhere else. And I understand the local aspect, but I think there are a lot of other ways that people are adapting and businesses are adapting to provide that local news.
Elberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a fairly large city in Nashua. We have, like most other communities, many boards, many committees, and I am frequently asked, where can I find out about when the hearings on the Arts Council are coming up? Where do I get the information about that? Now, you can sort of plow through a government website to find out where your own, the committees that you're looking for are meeting, or we can have a local paper or a radio station or even a local TV station that has a central place that's labeled upcoming meetings. This is one of the things that I hear all of us concerned about, that we are not getting enough public participation in committee meetings or people not getting their voices heard. This seems to me a fairly simple and low-cost way to help create that. The other piece we're talking about subsidizing, advertising costs money. Whether a government is paying to subsidize or we're paying individually through increased rates for products that are being sold and are being advertised, we're paying for it somehow. I would just as soon see our money going into a place where information gets put out, where the information can be challenged. If something comes out on Facebook or Truth Social or Blue Sky, there's no necessity for things to be challenged. But if a legitimate news organization says X or Y, and I believe that X or Y isn't the case, I can challenge that, and they need to respond. Doesn't happen elsewhere, so I like this bill.
Final thoughts before we move on? Yes, Representative Cole.
I have a question for Representative Malloy. In your research of this bill, I noticed that's a cap of 2,500 per news organization with an aggregate of 2.5 million. Are there 1,000 media outlets in New Hampshire that would be taking advantage of this?
Well, it's no, I don't know. I don't. But it's the cap of the 2.5 million is a maximum credit that would be allowed. But any particular advertiser could claim up to $2,500 against that. So whether it's, I mean, whatever bill, if it's used up, it's used up. If it isn't, it's not. I think is the answer for that. Is that
I was just curious in your investigation and the research.
we
of the
didn't
bill.
we didn't look at it that way, that there were X amount of advertisers and to the 2.5. There's really there wasn't a relationship there that was purposeful. It just, those are the numbers that we looked at based upon what we thought would be the size of the advertising buy, and put a limited cap on it of 2.5 million. Anybody, would you agree? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we specifically, we were basically trying to come up with I think a small enough number to spread the opportunity participation around. And I don't think we calculated it as, 2.5 million divided by 2,500 is 1,000, or, we didn't do that sort of calculation. It was just basically, let's come up with numbers that seem reasonable as a modest investment to start and as an experiment to see if the intent of trying to encourage advertising to support local media that meet the criteria of the bill, to see if it works. So,
Thank you.
Follow up.
Follow up.
Also, Representative Opel, you mentioned a 3-year sunset. Can you tell me where that is in this amendment?
well, I thought we had it.
Oh, we had it in here. It's supposed to be in here. Yeah. What's that? Maybe it was in the original. Maybe we.
Question is, where was the 3-year sunset?
Yeah, the question is, where's the 3-year?
It's a good catch.
Good catch.
The intention was
And that,
to limit it to 3 years.
Yes.
And I think that's something the subcommittee certainly supported, was a 3-year limit, a 3-year sunset. So,
Representative Olm.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify your first question, Representative Cole. It's the tax credit is per advertiser, not per media outlet. There could be many advertisers doing a little bit of advertising. They would be qualified for some tax credit.
This bill, the reason I've segregated out 1420 and 1648 to the earlier timeframes is these two bills need to get out this week. The last day would be Wednesday. I've scheduled it. I just, there's potential snow. Doesn't sound like a terrible storm, but I was hoping to get this out today. I'm leaning towards IS. I think more. I think there needs to be some more thought in this. It seems like pretty evenly divided.
I
Representative Alberti.
wonder if we can amend this with that one line about the sunset provision and maybe vote on it this afternoon.
Well, there's also, I'm sensing a divided concern here as well. That's why I'm,
Straw poll.
a straw poll, that would be a good idea. Thank you. How many people would go for an IS vote? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So it would be 10 to 9. Okay. All right. So I want to wrap this up then, unless someone has one last thought, because we're we're a little late. Representative Schamberg, did you have
I was
something
just
for-
going to say, you know, I think our side is looking at this first step here. Why not just send it over, pass it, send it over to the Senate, and have them do their deliberative type work that they do over there, their deeper thinking, to maybe add to Representative Cole's suggestion, put a limit on here. All right, I just thought that might be an approach that we can move it from here as we support this concept as a group, as legislators, and let the Senate see what they can do with it.
You observe the other body.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know in here, yeah, in here, I know in the House we're not supposed to say Senate. I'm not sure in here whether it matters.
I'm sorry. I apologize for
No,
bringing us down to a level that is not
I don't know. I think
conductive to what we usually do.
I think we are as deep thinking as the Senate, if not more so. But anyways,
Question for Representative Schamberg. Representative Schamberg, were you on purpose skipping the whole House vote? It can't go from here to the Senate, it goes to the whole House.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
That's,
and
All right.
this group says we
Okay.
information.
yeah. But, Representative Ullery?
To put something out that we know is incomplete, I think is a disservice to the entire House, unless it's something that we have because of artificial time limits, the inability to correct ourselves. And I seriously, just won't pass the House the way it's set up. I think it needs a little additional work to rough out some of the edges. And no one is saying they don't appreciate information. It's just how that information is provided.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the odds of this going OTPA in the full House is very slim. So given that, I think it makes more sense to go with the IS recommendation at this point. I'm going to close the work session on this. Something.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a remark that in September, we have a filing period that opens up for the next biennium. And I think between now and September, those of us who support this concept might be able to draft appropriate legislation, submit that in September, get that into the hopper. So beginning in January, the new legislature can get right on this topic.
Thank you. Something else? Yes.
Yeah, and there's an advantage of that too, because remember, the interim study is a recommendation to the future legislature. Recommend for, recommend against. So if it comes out with a recommend for with modification, then that's a nice little card to have in your deck when you're standing or sitting at the table. Just saying.
Okay, I'm going to close the work session on 1420. Well, I guess we could either exec it or get the other work session.
The other one I think is pretty easy.
Okay, good. And then let's open with that thought in mind, we'll open the work session on 1648.
Yes, we held just one meeting, and we had Representative Luno with us, and I can't remember who else, but
I was there also.
you weren't on the. Okay, right. So, on what we did was look at that together with the other two bills, one of which is already being put forward for interim study, and decide that we really wanted those three to be discussed together in interim study during the fall, and then hopefully come up with a study committee recommendation for the next year that would be advanced in its ability to deal with the difficulties that we find with most of the current proposals. They haven't gone down into the mechanisms of how you achieve things that they've got in their proposals. So so that was our recommendation, was just that we put this also into interim study with the idea that the three of them would be working together in the fall and summer if possibly.
Is there any other comments or questions or discussion? Well, come on, we gotta wait until John gets back.
He left?
Yeah, biological urgency. Well, that was politer than,
Yeah, that was an interesting way to put it.
yeah, okay. Yep, let's do that then. Hearing none on the work session on House Bills 1420 FN and 1648 is concluded. Now open executive session on House Bill 1420 FN and recognize,
Mr. Chair?
Before the chair gets back?
yeah,
Yes, that's really good.
who's gonna make the
I'll,
recommendation?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Mello.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Understanding where this will end up, I still want to make a recommendation of a motion of ought to pass as amended, 1420 FN with the full amendment of 0889H. This bill establishes a credit against the business profits tax for eligible small businesses that purchase qualified local news organization advertising. It increases the tobacco stamp rate and appropriates money to the Department of Revenue Administration for internal software improvements. That's my motion
Ought to pass with an amendment.
as amended. Yeah.
I will second.
Seconded by Representative Opal.
Point of order. Do we also, did I miss something, need another amendment to make a couple changes to it?
That was my understanding on the
So then do
floor
we have to
discussion.
wait?
Then we would have to wait for those changes, the effective dates, et cetera, to be
And the
modified.
3-year.
The sunset was the primary one, yeah.
I mean, I support it, but I don't know we can do it without the other amendment.
I tend to agree with you on that, which is why I would suggest that we go to the IS and work out some of the other details so that when this does go to the floor,
Okay.
it is.
So we can do an IS, that's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll withdraw that motion
Seconder,
and
Second.
withdraw the ought to pass.
What happens if I don't?
then you become the motion maker.
Okay,
Okay, what?
I'll withdraw.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. In that case, if I may, I
Representative,
move to interim study, HB 1420 FN as amended with 0889H, and the bill to repeat this, establishes a credit against the business profits tax for eligible small businesses that purchase qualified local news organization advertising, increases the tobacco stamp rate, and appropriates money to the Department of Revenue Administration for internal software improvements. That's my motion.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Ohm. Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh dear.
Schamberg, Representative Schamberg. Not, oh dear. Okay.
It depends on whether or not you like venison.
Okay. I just would like to say that it was not the intention when I gave my speech that this was an incomplete bill, as maybe someone said we don't send incomplete bills forward. It was a complete bill. just that now we have some new questions that came up about it. So I just wanted you to recognize that.
Thank you for that.
I would have supported
clarification,
the.
sir.
Okay.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give me just a moment.
Paperwork, where would we be without it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair. We're voting on House Bill 1420, creating a temporary local newspaper advertisement tax credit. The motion is interim study. Representative Ulrey.
Aye.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith is not present. Representative Tierney is not present. Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Schamberg.
No.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Elberger.
No.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Opal.
No.
Representative Spar.
Yes.
Chairman Janigian.
Yes.
Count 14 in favor, 3 opposed, 2 absent.
Wait a minute, how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
19.
17 people here, 3 missing. Total should be 17. Oh, 14 to 3, okay.
3. And we have an absent member in the majority side.
Okay, the vote being 14 to 3, the IS motion, well, I guess technically you were doing it.
14 to 3, the IS motion passes. Who will be the report author
Who
for
made
the
motion?
majority?
I'll write the report. Yes.
And this goes on consent? Any objections? Is that okay with
14-3?
No objection. I have no objection.
All right. Consent.
The objection would be from the 3 votes.
If you have an objection, it goes on the regular calendar, but that's all. I said I have no objection. Okay, all right, very good.
But Representative Schamberg's looking a little iffy.
I have no objection to going on the consent calendar.
Thank
Okay,
you,
good.
Representative Almy.
As long as I can serve on the IS committee.
Of course. Close it.
All right, I'll close that executive session on House Bill 1420. Go to work.
All right. we will- I figured I'd use the hammer for you. All right, we'll open the executive session on HB 1648. And I was out of the room, but I'm assuming Representative Almy would like to make a motion.
I will. I move interim study for House Bill 1648.
And I will second.
We have a second, okay. Second by Representative Opal.
And I'd like to speak to my motion really briefly.
Sure.
We looked at, in that one meeting that we had, we looked at quite a range of impediments involved in the bill.
Yeah.
On a lot of it, we probably can figure out an interim study. And I think if we can work together with the other 2 bills, that we may come out with something that will be very useful next year. I think I sent a copy of that report out to everybody, so.
You did. The other two bills being what? The other two bills,
The-
you're talking about 1787?
1787 and
1800.
1800.
Okay.
1800.
100.
1803 was better. That's when the House elected the president.
All right, any other?
What?
No, that was 1800.
In 1800?
Jefferson.
Any other comments apropos to the bill? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are voting on House Bill number 1648. A bill providing property tax exemptions for qualifying residences. The motion is interim study. Representative Ulrich.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Tierney is not here. Representative Smith is not here. Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Scheinberg.
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Alberger.
Yes.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Opal.
Aye.
Representative Spar. Chairman Janigian.
Yes.
With two members absent, count 17-0.
All right, two members or three members?
Two members
Why were there
absent,
three
one
before?
unassigned.
Well, one is replaced.
No, the last vote was 14 to 3, that was 17.
No, we have 17, but I'm just saying one person has been replaced, that's the other.
Yeah, so we're down to 19 on the
So there's a blank 4.
Okay, so the total vote was 17 to 0. Yeah, that makes sense.
Two absent.
All right, the vote being 17 to 0, the IS motion passes. I assume there's no objection to consent. Representative Opal.
Mr. Chairman, if we could go back to 1420 for, I guess it's a point of order.
No, not yet. We'll go back to that when we're done with this.
Oh, all right. I thought we were done.
It's a procedural question
Yeah.
that we have.
It doesn't, well, let's just finish this. So 17 to 0, IS motion passes. Representative Almy, you'll write the majority report, and there's no objection to consent, so it'll go on the consent calendar. Okay, I'll close the executive session on HB 1648 and recognize Representative Opal for a question.
So am I correct, Mr. Chairman, in understanding that if 1420 goes on the consent calendar, there's not an opportunity for the three members who voted nay to put in a minority report explaining that vote? We, in fact, I think the three of us would agree that we voted against interim study because we thought it ought to be, the bill ought to pass. And so I guess what I'm saying is the only way for us to do that, to have that record reflected, is to object to consent and then
Right.
ask to write a minority report.
Right. And now that's what you want.
And now that's what I would like to do is,
Now the question is procedure. I'm not sure the procedure.
Would be a
That's
reconsideration.
my question.
No, it'd be reconsideration.
Point of order, though,
Okay,
would
that's a
be,
good point.
did you realize with, which Representative Malloy just found, that there was a major drafting error, that when they did the amendment, they left off the section about the 3-year sunset and so on.
I realize that has happened. I think there are a number of opportunities. I wouldn't call it a major issue,
So you
but
do it on the floor,
yeah, we do a floor amendment.
floor amendment. Okay, just, I didn't quite know what
Yeah,
steps you were
Yeah,
thinking.
no, I mean, I think certainly a floor amendment
Yeah,
is doable.
Representative Ulrich.
Yeah, the parliamentary situation is this, the motion has been made and accepted. The only other thing would be to ask for a majority vote to, for reconsideration on a person who voted in favor of.
I understand.
IS.
I understand
And-
reconsideration has to come from the prevailing side.
Failing that, which is likely, the opportunity then is available for you to get 10 people together and take it off of consent.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Ohm?
I wonder if we can't just put a minority report into the consent report of the bill. I mean, I've seen, I believe I've seen,
Oh, that's gonna be,
That's up to
That's-
the author.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Elmy.
I'd like to do reconsideration of the vote on 1420 so that we can get it to where they want it.
Okay, so is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Chair, can I speak to the reconsideration? I would just ask this committee, we're not looking to overturn the vote in any way. We understand 14-3, this committee has spoken. But I do think, and I should have thought of this as we were considering it, but I do think that the three members are simply asking for the opportunity to, on the record, explain why the vote was 14-3. Why the three members chose to vote against interim study, not because we opposed the bill, but because we supported the bill and thought it ought to pass and not simply be sent to interim study. And as we just discussed, there are clearly ways to correct what was a drafting error, an unfortunate drafting error, but a drafting error with
Yeah,
a floor amendment.
My understanding is it's not on consent just for the drafting error. It's on consent because there's also a lot of disagreement as to whether this is the appropriate way to move forward with this.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would say it is on consent. The vote was 14-3 because of those issues. It's not on consent because of that. It's on consent because I made an error in not objecting at the appropriate time. So I'm just asking for the committee to
Can we-
give me
I
a
guess
chance to correct my error.
One question I'd have is, can we reconsider just consent, or do we have to reconsider the whole thing and unwind it
Reconsider the whole thing,
and then go
which
back?
brings it back on the floor.
Then we vote again.
and With no, and then we vote on it a second time, and it can still be IS with the majority opinion. They will just take it off of consent.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's,
No, she already
she's
made a
already
motion.
made it.
No, now we have to vote. Can we,
I just have to ask the question procedurally. I think I recall that bills on consent can have a comprehensive report reflecting the views of the entire committee. So we could say that the committee had decided to take this approach. However, there is a concern about minority issues, and that can be part of the report on the consent calendar. If that's what we would like to do to make a statement.
If that avenue is available,
well,
I think
I'll defer to Representative Almy on this because she's writing the report. I mean, do you want to just
I'm not
include?
No,
writing that
Malloy.
report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Malloy.
So,
We're saying,
so in
right, the
your,
majority report with
at
they're
the-
explaining why
maybe
they
at some
vote,
point in your report, it would say the minority
Yeah.
was concerned that it would still be in consent, but that you'd have the, if that's acceptable.
If that's acceptable to you, I'd be happy to put that together for, in the whole thing, the whole report.
Yes.
Thank you. I know this is unusual. I still think, for the average person, it would be a lot cleaner if there was just a minority report. But these three write themselves. This is not gonna be hard to allow that, right?
No.
So let's just do that.
I-
That's my recommendation.
Let me retract. I think we should, reconsider and take this off consent and let the,
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, then
Thank you.
let's move it quickly by just a show of hands to reconsider. All right, so 17-0 to reconsider. Now, you can, Representative Malloy, make the motion
Make-
for IS again.
yes, I would like to make a motion to turn over to interim study Bill HB 1420, the amended bill with 0889H, the amendment. It's my motion.
I'll
You did-
second.
You did, okay, Representative Ohm seconds it. And we'll call for the vote. Did you have something else to say?
Oh.
All right.
Do we need a division vote or a roll call vote?
Can we do a? I don't know. I don't. Do
Yeah,
we-
it has to, you
Roll
have to
call.
do the entire vote.
All right. Roll call.
Can we?
Yeah, because
We have to
it's now back on the floor.
All right. The clerk will call the roll.
Thank you. The motion is to reconsider the previous
No.
votes.
No. No. Now we're past. It's back to IS.
So we had to show of hands.
No. The reconsider was show of hands. It passed.
Now the bill is on the floor.
Now the bills. Now we're voting on the bill by roll call. IS.
Okay. So the vote is interim study on House Bill 1420.
Turn your speaker on.
Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we are voting on House Bill 1420. The motion is interim study. Representative Ulrey.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith is absent.
He's here.
He's here for the vote.
Representative Smith.
Yes.
Representative Tierney is absent. Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Schomburg.
No.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Elberger.
No.
Representative Jeffrey Smith is not here. Representative Bay
Yes.
votes yes.
Yes.
Representative Opal.
Nay.
Representative Spar.
Yes.
Chairman Janigian
Yes.
with 19 members in the committee.
No, there's 18 here now, I think. So it's 15 to 3.
15-3.
Vote is 15 yeas, 3 nays, and 1 absent.
All right, with the vote being 15 to 3, is there objection to consent? Object. Wow, what a surprise. Okay. So who's writing the minority report?
Representative Schamberg.
Urban Schamberg, okay. All right, with that, we will close the executive session on 1420.
I don't think I've ever seen an IS in a regular calendar. Interesting.
Yeah, well, it's the first time for everything. Okay. Now we can move on to our work sessions for. I'm going to open the work session on HB 1301. And that is increasing certain mooring fees and directing such funds to the Cyanobacteria Mitigation Loan and Grant Fund. Representative
Just to
Murphy.
tee up like a couple things for the benefit of the committee on this one. The main things to understand is that the fund that they use to currently provide help to these towns that have the larger lakes that most of our tourists use, mitigate this cyanobacteria problem, is nearly depleted at this point. So it's sort of a mini crisis, if you will. In addition to which, these fees have not been increased since the 1980s. So just kind of keep those two facts in mind when you're looking at this. And it's much cheaper to try and head this off at the pass than it is to try and deal with it later and clean it up. So it's really don't be penny wise, pound foolish type of issue. Thank you.
Okay, I want to let the committee know that I've invited certain guests to this work session, and if I can read my notes, it would be very helpful, but got DES here, and I'm not sure if all these names are here, but Mr. Dunleavy, John McDonald, who sponsored the bill, Amy Smeg, I should have written more clearly. Anyways, we have DES here, so if people have questions for DES, I'll just let you know that. Representative Schamberg.
I just have a question, Representative Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, this money that is collected, you mentioned just ponds and lakes. That includes even the smallest ponds or lakes that we have here in New Hampshire.
This particular bill is directing toward the larger ones like Lake Winnipesaukee, Ossipee, Bow. And the reason for that is, again, like there's an established fee that we're currently using for that purpose. There's other money, other grant money also that goes toward the smaller stuff. And sometimes you have lake associations also where the local municipality kicks in money. That's what we do in Francistown.
I'll wait for
Okay.
someone to come forth.
Representative, okay, I wasn't sure which one of you.
Yeah,
All right.
that's me. Thank you. I just wanted to say I totally support this bill, having lived through it several times at my small lake. And it has a big impact. When we had it, we had to bus campers to another lake to swim. It smelled so bad you could not walk around the lake. I had to move my bedroom from on the lake to way in the back. And even then, I came and stayed in Dover a couple of times. It was very bad. The sooner that you deal with it, the easier it is.
All right, so I'm going to ask whoever's appropriate from DES to come up, and committee can ask questions if they would like. If you'd introduce yourself.
Of course. Good morning, Chairman, committee members. My name is Amy Simagula, and I'm a Chief Aquatic Biologist at the Department of Environmental Services, where I coordinate programs that oversee cyanobacteria monitoring and response activities. I also oversee the grant program that awards grants out to lakes of various sizes for mitigation efforts.
Okay, thank you. Representative Schamberg, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You heard my original question, so is that, would it include like Tannery Pond and Wilmot?
It would. So water bodies that are within our jurisdiction are typically greater than 10 acres in size. So we would respond to cyanobacteria blooms on a number of water bodies across the state. That does also include river systems as well. So it's not restricted to just lakes.
Okay, thank you for that question. That was clarifying. Representative Elmy.
Yes, I hope this isn't just, it is just curiosity. What's a congregate mooring field?
So as a biologist working with cyanobacteria, I'm going to actually defer that question to Captain Tim formerly Captain Tim Dunleavy with the Department of Safety, who would be able to provide some definitions on congregate and individual mooring fields.
Oh, I
Yes,
guess
all right,
that will
quick
take up
question.
too much time.
Well, we'll, Representative
Just
Opal.
briefly, are there other issues that we see with lakes besides cyanobacteria where this funding could be used?
So a lot of the issues that lead to cyanobacteria blooms, and for those of you who are not super familiar with cyanobacteria, it's a type of algae in our lakes that can produce toxins, which can produce neurotoxins and liver toxins, which can be harmful to humans, drinking water supplies, recreation. So yeah, those cyanobacteria are caused by increases in nutrients in the watershed and stormwater runoff. So these are all complicating factors that lead to degraded water quality. So cyanobacteria mitigation funds would directly deal with cyanobacteria in the lake, but they could also be used to mitigate stormwater, nutrient loading, things like that. So it's more of a holistic approach at water resource management.
Okay, if there's no more.
Just one more.
Representative.
So we're going to be collecting around 80,000 is projected. How much does it cost to, for one treatment, please?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think the bill in its original state prior to its amendment was looking to raise about $80,000 for this issue. As amended in resources, I believe it's going to raise between about 111,000 to 122,000, which is more helpful. Some of these projects that we are seeing are anywhere from 100,000 to our most expensive project was on Lake Conasauqua in Molten Borough, and that was actually $500,000 for one project. We did another project on Partridge Lake in Littleton, and that was about $290,000. And then some of our other projects were in the ballpark of $100,000 to $150,000. So this funding could potentially support a project a year, or close to a project, or a part of a project. And like you indicated, Representative Murphy, the lake associations do contribute to this, so it would encourage match from local entities. Yeah.
Representative Opal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking the question. Thanks for coming to Canaan last year.
You're welcome.
So if you have a project that costs $500,000 and this fund only has 100 or 150, is that the rest of that through grants and matches? It comes out of the DES general fund appropriation? Where's the rest of the money?
Unfortunately, we don't have other resources at this time. So what money we do have available would be used to leverage other local match from communities, lake associations, things like that. We were awarded from the legislature 2 years ago $1 million, and we're down to about $200,000 that remain, and about 100,000 of that is earmarked currently. So yeah, we're down to just a little bit left.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Now I'll ask Mr. Dunleavy to come up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Ways and Means. My name is Tim Dunleavy, and I come here today at the request of the chairman, representing the Department of Safety, State Police Marine Patrol Unit. Happy to answer any questions or provide any background that I can for you.
I forget who asked the question. Representative Almy?
Yes, the congregate mooring people are going to have to are paying more now. What's the difference between a congregate mooring and a non-congregate mooring?
Thank you, Representative. There are three types of moorings by statute. There's the individual mooring, which is the private property owner who has X number of feet of frontage, and they're eligible to have up to 4 individual moorings. And there's an approval process, a permit process to get approved for up to 4. When you have a shorefront property owner, or more commonly, a condo association or a homeowners association who have common frontage, they then will have a congregate mooring field. A congregate mooring field is 5 or more moorings in the field. That is a more involved process by statute. That permit process includes final approval for the installation of that field by governor and council. So the individual moorings are approved within the Marine Patrol. Anything larger goes before governor and council for approval. The public mooring field, which you will see in the language, is simply a congregate field that has X number of moorings within it that are held for transient boaters. So if a marina has a permitted congregate field, it would be a permitted public field. They have reserved a percentage of that field for a transient customer. The statute allows for congregate and public mooring fields to assess a fee to the person whose boat is on that mooring. So if you have a condo association, the association can charge each individual a certain amount of money per year for maintenance and permitting costs. Individual moorings, it's illegal to rent them. They're for private, personal use only. That's why you're seeing a difference in the assessed permit costs. And finally, if I may, Mr. Chairman, there are only 8 bodies of water in the state right now that require you to have a mooring permit. They're the 5 largest lakes, Winnipesaukee, Winnisquam, Squam, Newfound, and Sunapee. Those were established by the legislature when the law first came into effect. The legislature also empowered the Department of Safety to add bodies of water to the mooring permit law after the public hearing process. So it is a petition and public hearing process that is often initiated by the residents of those bodies of water. There are 3 of those, Bow Lake, Pleasant Lake in Northwood, and I'm missing the last one. Sorry. It'll come to me.
When was the
Ossipee,
last
sorry.
time the mooring fees were changed?
The fees for the individual moorings were established when the law came into effect in 1988, effective in 89. In the early 2000s, the congregate renewal decals went up $25 and are now $50.
Sorry, what day was that? What?
Early 2000s,
Early
sir.
2000, okay. So it's been quite some time in any case, no matter which mooring we're talking about.
Never in the
flat.
case of individuals, and
Okay.
and I would say close to 20 on the congregate and public.
Okay.
And
So-
interestingly, if you want to compare it to a seacoast mooring, a mooring on our seacoast starts at $200, and then it's $20 a foot in boat length additional. So it's
Okay. Good information. Thank you. Anyone else have questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'm going to close the work session on HB 1301. Okay. And open the work session on HB 1542. Allowing alternative compliance payments to the Renewable Energy Fund to be refunded to ratepayers on a per kilowatt basis. Okay. Yes. Come on up. Hand out. Okay, thank you.
Probably read
Just-
since it's got my name on it.
So we have an amendment. Wouldn't be able to tell us what, okay. Representative Ullery.
I would like to offer amendment 0939H, and I would ask Representative Nodder to explain what it is, because it's her amendment.
With your name on?
Who?
Sure. Sure. Department of Energy.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I get it all right. The bill has gone through many drafts, trying to get everything perfect. And on this last version of it, there was some language that may be interpreted as removing the Office of Energy Innovation, which is something we absolutely do not want to do. So this amendment should fix that. And I think that clears it up, and the Department of Energy can always add to that.
Representative Ullery?
Okay, and so basically what you're saying is that on page 1 of this amendment, you're striking the complex language regarding monies and just replacing it with the bold language, which talks about administrative costs and rebates per kilowatt hour in a timely manner determined by the commission. What is a timely manner determined by the commission?
Thanks for the softball question, Representative Euler. Within the year, I would imagine. I don't know how to answer that right now, but I can get back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any, what? Representative Almy, did you have a question?
Yes, we have to look in several places in order to figure
Susan.
out what was. You have to look at several places in order to figure out what was happening. Okay, you've repeated that essentially in the second page. My question is, how can you possibly take a renewable energy fund and take away all the renewable energy
Well, we're
and
not.
keep the name Renewable Energy Fund?
Well, we're not. What we're doing is mimicking what we did with Reggie funds. So with Reggie funds, we send the proceeds back to the ratepayers, which is what this bill will do. And it already passed. We had it last year, but this bill was sat on because the fund was rated to balance the budget. So this will make it unavailable for rating, and the money will go back to the ratepayers.
And do you have any idea what each ratepayer will receive from this? Ordinary house?
Off the top of my head, I think it was. I don't have the exact number. I said it in the floor speech when we presented this bill the first time around when it went through Science and Tech. It isn't a lot, but a savings is a savings, and we have to chip away wherever we can.
I received something that said it was 48 cents per ratepayer across all, so I presume that would mean that it would be somewhat less for a house.
I would have to get back to you on that. I didn't do the math. I know I was thinking of the overall cost, but everywhere we can, we chip away because we hear all the time, oh, you won't notice this tax. It's only a little bit. It's only the price of a cup of coffee. Well, price of a cup of coffee's gone up, and pretty soon you're being taxed in gallons and gallons, and it all adds up. So when we chip away wherever we can until we feel the difference.
And do you realize that what you are doing, of course you must realize that what you are doing is taking away the ability of consumers to be able to afford new, much cheaper alternative energy.
That's not the intent.
Well, that's what it does. It was
It's
meant for that purpose, this program, and now it is gone.
It's a subsidy. It's a tax. So it's a redistribution of wealth is what it is. And this will reverse that.
Representative Elberger?
I'd like to echo my concerns with Representative Almy's, but I'd also like to point out that New Hampshire has no coal deposits, no sources of oil, and no sources of natural gas within the state. So all of those sources we have to bring in from elsewhere. It leaves us vulnerable, whereas renewable energy coming from solar or wind are right here. We don't have to bring them in from anywhere else. It makes us safer. So I'm trying to understand how returning pretty small amounts to ratepayers is more valuable than us trying to invest in renewable energy, which we can take care of ourselves.
So let me just interrupt for a moment. These 6 bills that we're discussing, we're second committee. So the policy has been established, whether we like it or not, the policy part has been passed. The question is, how does it affect revenues? And do we have a concern with the revenue part?
Right.
So
And
we've got to
I'd like to connect that.
Okay.
If we are subject to increases from importing fuel of any kind, how does that impact our revenues here and our citizens who are paying taxes.
Well, one thing you need to understand is this state cannot run on solar, wind, hydro, or biomass. There's simply not enough. It's intermittent energy. Solar only works when the sun shines. Wind only works when the wind is blowing. We have companies that manufacture here in New Hampshire that require an incredible amount of energy. 6 Hour, for example, their energy bill is $1 million a month. Now, we need that company here in New Hampshire because it helps the economy. We need all the businesses here in New Hampshire to stay. We don't want them to flee. We don't have enough energy, and in this past winter, there wasn't enough. They had to use coal. We have to use other sources. That ends up costing a whole lot more. And coal is a big worry with people who are worried about carbon dioxide going into the air. Well, coal's not the answer. Natural gas is a good source of energy. In the state of Ohio, I believe, I'd have to check on that. Sometimes I get Iowa and Ohio mixed up. They've declared natural gas a green energy. Nuclear power has no carbon emissions. It's a wonderful source of energy, so that's why we want to keep the Office of Innovation. So it's a big picture, and you have to look at the overall big picture. And I don't know if we have time today to go into every single aspect of it, but this bill is just a simple to return some money back to the ratepayers.
One quick follow-up.
Follow up.
I can call anything green energy. It doesn't make it that way. So I think we just need to be careful about how we're describing things. Thank you.
The other thing, we have Department of Energy here too, if we have questions specifically. So I just want to mention that before I call on you, Representative Shamburg. Okay.
Department of Energy here?
Yes. All right, let's,
They probably could
anyone
answer
else
my
have,
question better.
anyone else have questions for Representative Notter?
This one here.
Representative
Just a
Murphy.
would you believe question, Jeannie, that again, the average, the adopter income for things like solar on average, according to a government study, is 115,000 per year versus the median income of Americans is 63,000. So do they really need us to be giving them, credits to subsidize doing this if they're truly committed to green energy?
Thank you.
Follow-up question for Representative Murphy.
Wait a minute,
When
Almey.
Representative
I've
Almey's
had
done.
my hand up
Representative
for quite
Almey
a
is
while here. I would like to point out that geothermal is growing in this state also. And yes, it's a little bit more expensive at this point than just, well, I'm not sure it is more expensive than getting your oil. I'm looking at that right now. But geothermal works all the time, and it is a alternative energy, and also that it is not a question of total changing at this point. It's they are hanging on what do you call it? Solar energy brackets from balconies in France. They are hanging these things. In Pakistan has gone almost entirely now to solar energy. They can do it. They've got more solar than we do. And all of this is a lot cheaper in third world countries than what we are having to do with our oil. And there is no pipeline leading to the west of New Hampshire, which is where I live. And there is no pipeline a number of other places in New Hampshire. So only the big businesses can bring in gas, liquid gas, whatever you call that stuff. But
Okay.
what is, this is not an issue especially of revenues at this point, though it is if the state has no access to these things. It's an issue of the budgets. But it is an issue of consumers' ability to go to less expensive products, at least in part. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any specific questions for Representative Notter? Representative Ullman?
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the basics of our committee here, which is the second committee bill, looking at the financial aspects. And my understanding is that the bill would save about $6.7 million a year and pass that savings down to the ratepayers. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes.
Thank you. My other assumption is that this bill would eliminate 9 full-time positions to administer this program at a savings of $1.5 to $2 million per year based on the fiscal note. Is that a correct assumption?
Let me get back to you on that one, or you can ask the Department of Energy about the positions, because I didn't know about that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. I thought this was for
I had my
DOE.
question for Representative Murphy.
Oh,
Or just when she made a statement about the
okay.
green energy subsidies or whatever you were saying. The U.S. fossil fuel subsidies for coal, gas are $34.8 billion per year that we, the taxpayers, pay when we send our federal income taxes in. So what is the total green energy numbers that are spent here in New Hampshire when we send our tax money in?
No idea. We'll have to ask
Okay.
the Energy Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank
But
you, Representative Notter.
By the way, I'm not a fan of subsidizing big business either.
Can we have representative from DOE come up?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Meg Stone. I'm legislative liaison with the New Hampshire Department of Energy. The notes I have for you today are based on the bill as it passed the House recently. I did have conversations with Representative Notter about the amendment. I just have not seen a copy of it yet to fully speak to that. So yes, we are neutral on the bill. House Bill 1542 would rebate funds deposited into the Renewable Energy Fund to ratepayers on a per kilowatt hour basis. The Department of Energy is responsible for administering the renewable portfolio standard, including but not limited to reviewing and approving renewable energy certificate applications, monitoring compliance with RPS obligations, and collecting alternative compliance payments. Those alternative compliance payments are what is deposited into the Renewable Energy Fund. House Bill 2 in 2025 did make changes to the Renewable Energy Fund. It includes remitting all funds in the REF to the general fund after administrative costs, and leaves $1 million for programs in both fiscal year 25 and 26. With these changes, the department does currently administer 2 competitive grant programs funded at $500,000 each. It pays for 9 full-time positions, including staff in our sustainable division, which aside from handling RPS, does also handle net metering and group net metering tasks and obligations, as well as funding the Office of Energy Innovation. So as the bill passed, Section 1 of the bill is effective until July 1st, 2027, taking effect on July 1st, 2026. And then Section 2 takes effect July 1, 2027, which is the next biennium. So I do have a couple points just on Section 1 for the committee's consideration. The main effect of Section 1 of the bill is that the funds anticipated in the budget would not lapse to the general fund for this next year, which I believe on the surplus statement anticipated about $4 million. Right now, and this is a very rough estimate, of course, at the end of June, this might look a little bit different, but right now we can anticipate roughly 5 million to 5.5 million that would lapse. And I can just tell you for the committee's knowledge, at the end of at the beginning of this last fiscal year for the money lapsing into the general fund was 17,813 at $362,000 million. There we go. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Representative Schamberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking some financial questions. The amount of electricity used by the state of New Hampshire in 2024 was 10,913,961,000 megawatts, which a megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts. And it's average that most of our homes use 12,661 kilowatts per home. All right. And when you do the math, removing all this 3.7 and the 6.7 million from this fund, each ratepayer is going to save on 1,000 kilowatts 65 cents per month. Is that close to the figure that you have? It's on ratepayers, not that includes commercial and everybody else.
Thank you for the question. So I'll just start by saying the amount of money that is deposited into the Renewable Energy Fund each year does vary based on how much revenue comes in through alternative compliance payments on any given year and how much electricity is sold in the state. We did a very rough estimate this morning, and we came up with about $3.90 per month would go to each ratepayer, which is about $46.80.
Follow up.
Yep.
Thank you. And that $3.90 is including all ratepayers, or is that just?
Thank you. I believe that our estimate is based on residential, but I will get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Opal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And forgive me, I think the first part of this, other people have covered in a different way, but as a representative of the Department of Energy, thank you for taking my question. Are you aware of any active oil fields in the state of New Hampshire?
Thank you for the question. No.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Follow up.
Are you aware of any domestic based in New Hampshire companies involved in solar development or hydro development or other renewable projects?
Thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
You-
Yes, there are companies that there is hydropower and solar companies in the state. Yes.
Last follow-up, Mr. You may not be able to answer this question, perhaps DRA might, but do we have any idea of the potential impact to business profits tax revenues if some of these companies involved in renewable energy now find it more difficult to acquire projects because of the lack of innovation?
Thank you for the question. I don't think I can answer that. I might defer to DRA on that. I don't have business profits tax
Thank you.
information. Thank you.
Okay, Representative Elmy. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to Representative Olm.
Thank you, Mr.
He's
Chair.
had his hand up for a while.
Yeah. I just want to get back to the financial aspects of the bill and just focus only on that. The bill, as I read it, before the amendment, would eliminate 9 positions in the department. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it does eliminate, we do have 9 positions funded through the Renewable Energy Fund. It is possible that some of those positions might be able to move over and be funded by the assessment. We would have to take another look at that. But the positions under the Office of Energy Innovation do not have another funding source, so that is correct.
Okay. And the total savings, if this bill would pass, is in the order of $6.7 million a year to be sent to the ratepayers. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question. It does vary each year. I believe over the last 10 years, it has varied between 2.5 million and about 8 million. This year, I think we would transfer this next year about around 5 million to that. So it does vary a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to understand the financial aspects of the bill. Only that. Thank you very much.
Now Representative Elmy.
Thank you. I am still trying to figure out why it is still being called a renewable energy fund when you remove the renewable. Does this have to do with keeping New Hampshire in the RGGI?
Thank you for the question. This bill is not does not have to do with RGGI. I believe there's another bill coming up later this morning that is about RGGI, but not this
That
one.
are about RGGI.
Mhm.
But if you took out the word renewable energy from the title, would RGGI become concerned with the fact that New Hampshire is the odd person out?
I would have to get back to you on that question.
Representative Schamberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to Representative Ullman, financial picture here. The alternative compliance payments set the fees will be 0 beginning January 1st, 2027. Am I right on that? I just want to make sure that no one has to pay anymore.
Thank you for the question. I believe as amended, it changes the bill, so I don't think that is in the bill as amended.
Okay.
I think that was the original bill,
Yes.
as it was introduced, but after the committee amended it, I believe it.
Or even in the amended, is it going to 0 at some point? And when does that 0 compliance payment go into effect?
Thank you. I believe as amended, it does not adjust the alternative compliance payments. I believe there might be another bill that does that, but not in this one. I believe the bill as amended just rebates the alternative compliance payments that go into the Renewable Energy Fund. It rebates that to
It
ratepayers.
rebates that. Okay, follow-up question. So if, what happens on the high, long-term electricity prices? If the efficiency savings has gone out, will there be a rise in electrical costs to the ratepayer? And do you have an idea how much that rate paying will go up?
At this time, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get back to the committee on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. I'm going to ask Jennifer Ramsey from DRA to come up. What's that?
I think there may be somebody else in the audience that is going to be, wants to address this issue also.
Okay, that's fine.
How can I be of help?
Question is, so when I look at the fiscal note, it says revenue decrease in 2028 probably is about 3.35 million, but the decrease in expenditures is 3.35 million, and then same in 2029, fiscal year 2029, 6.7 and 6.7. does this imply that this is revenue neutral to the state? Or should I just say, is this bill revenue neutral to the state?
That fiscal note would make it sound like it
Yeah,
is.
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't believe that we participated in that.
Okay. Who put this fiscal note
Is
together?
that directly from, are those figures directly from LBA, or did I actually provide some input and I've completely forgotten it, which is possible?
Yeah, let's
On the
see.
bill.
As amended by the committee. Let's see.
It says,
Somebody contacted the Department of Energy.
but not the Department of, but not the Department of Revenue Administration? Yeah.
It says LBA.
Yeah, I think LBA did that fiscal note without our participation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, the way it's set up, it looks like it's revenue neutral to the state. Representative Schamberg, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking this question. Maybe you can explain it to me. This unapproved amendment, have you had chance to go through the entire amendment before today?
I have not seen the amendment, no.
Oh. Well, that's the reason I'm asking the DRA this question. So you would be able to answer the next question. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Representative Opal.
I'm not sure who to ask this question of, Mr. Chairman, but just to go back to, I think, Representative Schamberg's point, I personally would like to see whoever put together from LBA this fiscal note, because it very clearly says the methodology is to eliminate essentially the alternative compliance payment to zero effective January 1st, 2027, which, as I understand it, and maybe I'm wrong, but that sounds to me as if we're going to give ratepayers 48 cents or $3 or whatever, 65 cents. I've heard all sorts of different numbers for 1 year. And then there's not going to be any money to rebate after that if the fiscal note is from LBA is correct. So I think, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear from the person or the organization that actually did the fiscal note before we start, because I know this committee is not set on policy. We're set on the economic aspects of it, the financial aspects of it. If this is sort of here's your 65 cents this year and zero next year, was that the intent? Well, I see Representative Notter shaking her head, but that's what this says.
Representative Notter, do you have a thought on this?
You.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, this has gone through many drafts because the first draft did the opposite of what we wanted it to do. So the second draft set it to zero. We said, no, that's not right either. So, because we wanted it to mimic Reggie. And so you're looking at how it was first introduced, I believe. So it's not going to go to zero. The program's still going to be there. And when the fund was rated to balance the budget, all those companies that are getting those subsidies, they didn't go out of existence. The free market works very well. If they're good sources of energy and everybody wants them, then they don't need subsidies. They'll survive. Biomass did.
Tell that to the oil companies.
So you're saying the compliance payments will continue past 1 year? I mean, I'm sorry, the rebate to the customers will continue after 1 year.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Well, I understand that the copy of the bill we have before us that I just saw today says 1542 as amended by the House. The fiscal note that came attached with that copy apparently was 1542 as introduced. So we have no fiscal note for the amendment. At least we don't have one in front of us. apparently. Maybe somebody has a fiscal note for the
Well,
amendment.
we'll find out who put the fiscal note together as well. Yes,
We good?
that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Ms. Stone?
Thank you. I can maybe help with this a bit. The Department of Energy did do the original fiscal note. I was just searching back in some of my notes. I don't believe we were contacted to do an updated fiscal note. So I believe the one you're looking at is the original one that was done in December or November, around then.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just as a follow-up, I believe what the witness just said is validating what I said, which is we do not have a fiscal note for the amendment.
Yeah, we're aware of that. We were just discussing the need for an additional work session on this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Almy, you'd indicated there was someone from the audience that wanted to make some comments on that. Could you come to the front, identify yourself?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Nick Rakoff with the Conservation Law Foundation here in Concord. We're a nonprofit advocacy organization that focuses on environmental and energy issues. So thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I did send out written comments to the whole committee on Thursday, so that provides a lot more detail about what I'm going to talk about right now. But I will try to stick to the fiscal issues that are before the committee today. First off, I want to mention that, I think it's already been, talked about a bit, but rebating the Renewable Energy Fund to ratepayers will result in basically negligible benefits to the average residential ratepayer. I did a calculation, which is talked about in my written comment. I think the average residential ratepayer would receive about 48 cents. I think that's where that 48 cents number comes from. It's a little bit different from what Department of Energy stated, and I think it's basically based on if you looked at sort of the whole cost of the renewable portfolio standard versus just the cost of the renewable, the alternative compliance payments, which is what funds the Renewable Energy Fund. I think if you look at just at that portion of it, which is the part that'll be rebated, it would be about 48 cents per month for the average residential ratepayer. Another thing that I really want to point out here is that there was a very, very similar bill that this committee considered last October that was on, it was HB 224. The committee referred that bill to interim study, had nearly identical language. And the committee said basically that electricity bills for residential customers would be reduced by only a minimal amount. And given that and also the potential unintended consequences of that bill, they decided to refer to interim study. So this committee has already seen a very, very similar bill, nearly identical bill actually, decided that that was ripe for interim study because of those consequences and the fact that there'd be near negligible benefits to the average ratepayer. I just want to make one further point really. We talked about sort of the nature of the Renewable Energy Fund, and some suggested it's a subsidy. But I think if you look at sort of what the Renewable Energy Fund is benefiting or for whom it's benefiting, it doesn't really look like your normal sort of subsidy, just benefiting businesses or whoever. A lot of the projects under the Renewable Energy Fund, they go to benefit municipalities, towns, school districts. So, these are towns, they want to put in, say, a new efficient biomass boiler, wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise, but they're getting money through this fund to be able to purchase a new boiler system that'll, greatly reduce their energy costs because it's much more efficient. And, the fund provides a portion of that, overall cost for the new energy system that they otherwise would not be able to make without sort of this grant that's provided by the fund. So over the years, the Renewable Energy Fund has provided approximately $16.4 million for competitive grants for those school districts, those towns, municipalities, et cetera. And then one other project that is funded by the Renewable Energy Fund is for a low-income community solar program. In 2024, it funded a project undertaken by Catholic Charities for low-income folks. So, a lot of these projects, they benefit school districts, low-income folks. They're not going to just, wealthy, affluent people. They're benefiting towns that can't afford this, charities that can't afford this, low-income folks that can't afford this. So with that, I think if you look at the cost versus the benefit of the bill, very, very little benefit to ratepayers, but a high cost by losing these very important programs. I recommend that you refer to interim study for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to move on.
Can I just ask one quick question?
One quick question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned 16 million in work that was done because of the renewable. Am I correct in understanding that there would have been New Hampshire companies, contractors who were actually installing a biomass boiler or any of the 16 million?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to note also one thing. Annually, the Department of Energy produces a report on, on the Renewable Energy Fund, and they say that the fund provides a boost to the state's economy and creates jobs for electricians, plumbers, and alternative energy businesses within the state. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thanks.
I got confirmation on this from the clerk that the LBAO, reviews this and the fiscal note, I'm sorry, the fiscal note part of this. So it does look revenue neutral based on that fiscal note. We will probably have another work session on this one because we need to get moving on some other things. So I'm going to close the work session on this bill, 1542. Okay, let's open the work session on HB 1594, establishing a weight-based tiered registration system. This is for electric vehicles and hybrids, and the current law, as I think you all know, is $100 for straight EVs and $50 for hybrids. This bill attempts to try to make it a little more fair by creating a tiered system. Any concerns on this one? Or are we pretty much, yes? Okay.
I had a couple questions. Is there
Okay.
somebody from,
Let's see.
I saw somebody from DMV in the audience.
DMV, we have somebody from DOS, I believe. Okay, come on up.
Good morning. My name's Jennifer O'Leary, and I am the Registration Bureau Administrator with the DMV. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Representative Breyer?
Okay. My first question was, currently, the electric vehicles, you have between 11, I'll just say ballpark between 11,000 and 12,000 registrants in the fiscal note. And, you bring in about a little over 1.1 million on just the EVs alone. I was looking at the different rates set up, and I was thinking that most of the current vehicles would fall between 3,000 pounds and 8,000 pounds, which is currently, the surcharge is $100, but this would replace it for that weight category of $100. So is it safe to say that this bill would be revenue neutral, that you pretty much collect the same amount of revenue?
As long as those statistics are adding up, the way that this bill was presented was mainly for your smaller type vehicles. So when you look at a moped, an electric moped was facing the same surcharge as my Prius. And so for a $3 registration that can't ride on all of the same roads, it wouldn't use the same gas as a vehicle would. That was the impetus behind this. So maybe taking those 3,000 to 8,000 pound vehicles and keeping them in the same class does generally sound like what is currently charged, the $100 charge.
Follow up? So you're saying it would be revenue neutral?
It does appear to be that way, yes.
Thank you.
Representative Elmy. Or you looked like you were about to press the button. Okay. Oh,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't.
I put in one of the 15 or so bills that appeared because the people in drafting didn't think to try to tell people that other people were working on the same issue. And this looks like a pretty good compromise. I think there are very few vehicles on the road over 8,000 pounds that are cars. And I don't know that are and that are electric. I don't think there would be any probably at this point, but maybe there will be later. So
So
did
your
you?
question is what? That they're,
The question is, well, I guess the idea is that the weight of the middle group, which is 3,000 to 8,000, I think my car is actually 2,800 or something like that. So, so we do have cars that are pretty powerful that are below 3,000. Except mine isn't totally electric. It's hybrid and not plug-in.
all right, so you would pay the
Yeah.
50.
But I have been wondering why are we taxing plug-in hybrids and not all hybrids?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. We didn't bring this bill forward.
I think Representative Breyer has a thought.
My former position, I was in charge of road toll, and I dealt with some of these bills when I was working at safety. The argument with the $50 hybrid fee was because it's a plug-in, but it also takes gasoline. It's saying they are paying fuel tax, but they're not paying their fair share. And then when they came up with the $100, that was actually based upon the average vehicle drives 12,000 miles, and I calculated if I was to pay the road toll on this, if I had a regular gasoline-powered vehicle, it'd come out to about $115 per vehicle. And then during testimony back then, they just says, let's round it, make it a flat 100.
Okay.
I would like,
Your microphone's not on.
yeah, sorry. I would like to point out that hybrids that are not plug-in are also getting a lot better mileage than regular cars.
I mean, the policies I think we're kind of just, right now, we're trying to figure out, does this bill substantially change revenue to the state? I think the
Yeah.
answer is no. So I think unless there's some other serious question, we should just move on.
Well, current revenue to the state, no, because the state hasn't been looking at the entire picture that started back before hybrids. When
No,
cars were doing 20 miles to the gallon.
No, what I'm talking about, Representative Almy, is the fact that right now in law, it's $100 for an EV and $50 for
Yeah.
a hybrid.
Yeah.
This is just creating a tiered approach. So when I say it's not changing that much to the state, I'm not talking about, how the overall picture looks with gasoline. Just,
Yeah.
we have 150
Yeah.
and now that we have this, it's
I'm
about,
just pointing out
Yeah.
that we've lost a lot of revenue over the years, which is not being recouped at this point.
okay, that's
because
a different issue. I
People
agree with you.
are getting a lot better mileage than they used to get.
Right. Yeah, it's a concern, but, it's something that needs to be addressed in another way. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the work session on HB 1594. Open the work session on HB 1655, establishing a funding source for maintaining state-owned dams. This one, so there is a bill, HB 629, which is finding its way through finance, and that's being looked upon favorably. What it does is it, instead of, so this bill 1655 is basically increasing the property taxes of properties that are on a water where there's a dam. Now the issue is that there's a lot of people that enjoy those lakes caused by these things, boaters and so forth. So HB 629 is increasing, I believe it was by $5 per boat registration to fund, which would bring in about 500,000 to maintain the areas around the dam. This bill does raise more money. It raises 3 million, but I think one of the concerns I've been hearing is you're taxing the properties around the dam, whereas there's plenty of other residents of the state or out of state who are enjoying that area and not being taxed. So my feeling on this is it probably needs a different bill. I think this one is probably not fair. We've already dealt with some other property tax bills where we've said it doesn't look like a fair way to go. So in lieu of the fact that HB 629 is going to at least create maintenance account for dams, and there still needs to be more funding. So I'm not saying that solved the problem, but this bill is is increasing the property tax just on those abutting dams, which I personally don't feel is fair. With that, I'll open it up to Representative Elmy and then Representative Southworth.
I didn't remember that was on, but
Oh, then
but
let me
I
go to
do.
Representative- let me go to
I would
Representative-
like to see 1629 if we're going to do
629. The fiscal note says
629?
620, HB 629.
629, the fiscal note says 2027, 267,000 in revenue, and then 2028, 535,000 in revenue. Expenditures, indeterminate increase. I guess the expenditures look like they'll be roughly the same.
I don't think there's a huge increase in expenditures, so.
I would just like to bring a little bit of history
revenue
into this. We were looking at this 25 years ago, and they kept on saying, no, we can't make the people around the dams do it, pay for it. And there has perpetually been too little money for maintaining state-owned dams. And that includes ones that aren't even in this because they're dams for generating and things like that, which we have an obligation, for instance, the Connecticut River, we have an obligation to maintain parts of that. And 25 years ago, they assured me that I didn't need to worry because if the dam broke north of us 100 and something miles, it would dissipate before it got to Lebanon. And I didn't appreciate that comment very much. But there is a major problem with funding dams, and just to throw a little bit of money at it doesn't seem to be going to help much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I acknowledge that there does need to be more funding for dams. What I'm saying is I don't think this is the way to go, because think about who benefits from this. Not only what I said earlier about boaters and people that enjoy the lake who don't have to pay that extra tax, but also the people downstream would appreciate the dam being, as you just mentioned. So the people downstream benefit from a dam being correct. So to tax just the people upstream around the dam when there's a lot of other people who benefit from it, I think that's where the concern is. I'm not debating the fact that we do need to raise more money. I'm just saying I don't think this is the way to go. Representative Southworth.
Yes, that's most of what I was thinking. Again, I remember when we had the bills before, there was really quite a waiting list of dams that needed some kind of work. And it does seem like we're just, falling further and further behind. And I know no one wants taxes, or at least well, I won't say that part. But, what are we going to do? Wait for them to start, going? I mean, it does seem like the bill comes up and then they say, well, we don't want to raise taxes, and then the things get worse. If we lose a dam, it's going to be major expenses and maybe even loss of life. So,
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. It's important. Is this the way to do it is the question. Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I'm one of the co-sponsors on this bill. I think there's an urgency to deal with this. I think this is preventative medicine. And any one of these things fails, it's going to be a lot of money. These are state dams, so there's a state obligation. I'm just trying to think through how to protect that investment and to prevent huge expenses down the road. And that's why I felt this was an important way to begin getting at that.
Yeah, no, I think, I respect the fact of you highlighting it by bringing this bill forward. The question is, what's the best way to finance it? Okay. With that, should we end this work session? Let me just see, was there? Okay, yeah, I'll close the work session on HB 1655. I'll open the work session on HB 1738 relative to taxpayer benefits from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. This one, I don't know if there's someone in the committee that perfectly understands this. I know I've struggled with it a little bit. I think unless somebody wants to make comments on it, I'll ask. We have DOE and possibly, I guess DOE and DES both looked at this bill.
The LBAO present now, he just came in.
The LBAO, okay. Oh, yes, Crochet. Actually, we'd like to ask you a question.
Oh, no.
If I could, just before you ask me a question,
Yeah.
just to clarify for the committee, when you're looking at a bill with a fiscal note on it, that fiscal note is prepared by our office based on information that we obtain from the agencies. So we're the drafters of that, we're the writers of that. We take information that agencies provide to us and share that with you through the fiscal note. You are a fortunate committee because you have DRA that comes before you quite a bit to flesh out further their fiscal information. So I just wanted to make sure you understood that the fiscal note is ours, it's not the agency's.
Okay.
But that's all I had
Good-
on
good
that,
to
so I don't
know.
know what you want to ask.
Well, there was a question that came up on the last, not the last one. the one before it,
1542?
1542, and I think we were just trying to make sure, I don't know if you can shed light on whether we were interpreting the fiscal note correctly.
Probably not, because I can shed light, but I don't think you're interpreting it correctly.
Okay.
The fiscal note that's attached to the bill right now was for the bill as introduced, not for the bill as amended. And you can see that right in the header where it says as introduced.
Okay.
So disregard that fiscal note. We're in the process of redoing a fiscal note.
Okay.
This is a bill that, and I think you may have heard from Energy about this, that the budget planned on $4 million coming from the Renewable Energy Fund as part of helping to balance the budget. Last year, there was another bill passed that changed some language that took that piece out. Unfortunately, that language is what's in law right now. So when you look at the bill as amended or any changes they're making, that's the language that doesn't allow the money to come to the general fund. There are a couple other bills. The Senate's working on one right now to fix that so the general fund will get the money. And I think, Chairman, Melissa from our office may have reached out to you with an email to talk about that a little bit.
Okay,
So
don't
there may be an
recall
email. Basically kind of lays out, and I can make copies of that. I can forward that to the committee if you're okay with that.
Sure.
But basically lays out what happened last session and why the language you see isn't the language that was intended at the time that the budget was passed. But as you make changes in the committees to the language, we're playing catch up with that to make sure that the transfer occurs to the general fund for the biennium. And the intent was after that, the language would allow the money to go back to the ratepayers.
Okay. I mean,
That may change with policies and such as you move forward, but that was the intent last year with the budget, the way it was written.
Okay, how soon could we get an updated fiscal note on 1542 as amended?
I will need to check and we probably sent that out to the agency to see what the amendment, what other impact the amendment might have. I don't know if we've gotten anything back from the agency. We would have sent it to Energy.
Because we do have Wednesday scheduled with any work sessions that we needed to continue.
We can certainly try to get you something, and I know that Energy's probably here, and they heard the desire to have something back for you on Wednesday, so we could try to work with them to get a fiscal note done on the bill as amended. It would have no relevance to the amendment that was introduced to the committee today, though. It'd only be as the bill is amended and passed by the House. We haven't seen the amendment that Representative Ulrey introduced today.
So he can send that to you.
We probably wouldn't have a fiscal note for that.
What's that?
Not for the amendment that it was today,
Okay.
because the committee hasn't even adopted that yet.
Oh, I see. So we have to adopt it before we get a fiscal.
We would prefer it go that way. And right now you have a bill as amended that we're trying to catch up with. We're working with the agency to
Oh, I
get
see.
caught up. I just wanted to make sure the committee understood that if we provided you something on Wednesday, it wouldn't reflect the amendment that the committee saw today. It would reflect the bill as amended by the full House.
What's that?
Are we working with an amended bill now on 1738?
Well, what was passed is
1542.
No, we're 1542.
Yeah. So if a bill is amended, I mean, it was an OTPA. So if you look at the original bill, you're not going to get it. It's got to be bill as amended when you click on
Right.
the link.
But, Mr. Chairman, am I to understand that we need to adopt an amendment without understanding the fiscal implications and then we get a fiscal note? That doesn't seem right.
That's correct. The reason for that is that there are so many amendments that are drafted
Excuse me, which part is correct? That we're
that
gonna
we
adopt
wouldn't
it
do a
without the
fiscal note on an amendment that hasn't been adopted by the full body. So we wouldn't change the fiscal note on a bill because a committee's looking at an amendment. What we have done for individuals is we will work into a fiscal analysis. And what that is basically we take an amendment that you might have that you want to offer to a committee, and we'll do a fiscal analysis to that amendment only. That can take 5 to 10 days to get that done. Again, we use a similar process as we do when we do a fiscal note. We need to reach out to the agencies or other experts to get the information needed to put together a fiscal note.
Don't we normally, when we're first looking at a bill in a public hearing, we have the bill and we have a fiscal note attached to that bill?
As introduced.
As
Are you talking? Yep.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to understand a process in which I'm going to vote for something like an amendment without, I mean, maybe the analysis, as you're calling it, provides the information that I would want to have before voting for something. But to vote for an amendment without any sort of analysis or note or something that says, if you support this amendment, here's what's going to happen fiscally. I would expect my constituents to question me pretty seriously about, you're voting for a pig and a poke, I would think.
So
Would
I
you
think-
agree?
I don't agree or disagree with that. What I would suggest is that you're here in the committee and that you do have individuals that testify on the bill. Many of them are agency individuals that you could flush out a particular cost or benefit of a bill. But the formal fiscal note wouldn't be prepared until an actual amendment is adopted. Again, there's
So
thousands of amendments that get drafted in a session, and there's no way our office could keep up with that within the timelines that the House or the Senate has.
Okay, so on this one, we could, if we get the fiscal note as amended, then we could have an agency testify on whether this changes the fiscal note or potentially changes the fiscal note. I guess that would be what we'd be looking at. So in this case, it would be DOE. So we'd get your updated fiscal note on the bill as amended.
Yep.
And then we can have DOE say, okay, here's the fiscal note. Does this change in this amendment affect anything? I guess that's what we would look at. Yes, Representative Southwood.
Yeah, I would, at least from my vantage point, every week in the House, we vote on amendments and we do not know the cost, number one. And number two, then they go to finance. But what happens all the time that we have an amendment, a 2-page sheet, and it does not say what the cost is.
Representative Smith, did you have a question? Oh, okay. My clerk thought you might. Okay. Representative Elmy.
Yes, if that's what we're doing, the chair of finance has been waiving every single bill and sending it to the Senate. Do you do another fiscal note at that point, don't you?
When a bill is adopted on the floor that's been amended, we do a fiscal note on that. Any amendment that's adopted by the body, we look at that. So there may be a bill that didn't have an FN originally, and you may end up with an FN on a bill, a fiscal note on a bill, because the amendment changes the impact. So our office does look at every amendment that's been adopted by the body, whether at the House or the Senate, and to make a determination if we think there's a fiscal impact. And then if there is, we'll write a fiscal note. So it'll be an amended fiscal note to the bill. And it'll have the amendment number in the header as well.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll move on from that. Thank you, though,
All
for
set with
coming
me?
down. Yeah. That clarifies. That does help. Okay, back to 1738. 17, okay, right. Oh, right, DOE and DES. Is there anyone from DOE or DES that had comments on 1738?
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Scott, Commissioner with the Department of Environmental Services. With me, I have the Craig Wright. He's Director of our Air Resources Division. We were requested to be here to answer any questions, but I can quickly give you two salient points. Understandably, you're interested in the financial impact of this bill, I believe. I think the sponsors have characterized this as a housekeeping bill. This bill keeps us in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. The reason why that's important is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative does have an impact, some impact on the electric rates regionally that then translate to our ratepayers. Right now, we get over roughly, because everything above $1 is rebated to the ratepayers, the way New Hampshire set this up. Right now, we get over $60 million a year that goes back to ratepayers. If we do not continue in RGGI, we have still the cost that is on the whole market, but without the benefit. I'll also let you know that our analysis is given, this is the third time we've gone through a kind of a negotiation with other states, given the allocation that New Hampshire has compared to our load for New Hampshire,
Reggie actually provides a net benefit, and I'm not talking environmental benefit, I'm talking financial benefit to our ratepayers. So we actually come out ahead by being in Reggie.
Thank you. Questions? One thing I did notice is this is a very bipartisan bill. And it passed the House on consent, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of it looks like it's fairly balanced in terms of fiscal impact. Representative Schamberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And looking at page, I guess it's page 1. Don't see a number anywhere. Number lines 27, 28, 29, 30. I see it. It's a reduction. Can you just explain why it's going down? Is that the new bill that's being proposed?
So what the Reggie states agreed to in the 2025 program review was there was a glide path in place that for New Hampshire flatlined in 2030. What the states agreed to do was to increase the glide path. And what New Hampshire's proposing is to stay on the same glide path with the other states, but continue to flatline in 2030, and we'll deal with 2030 after another program review in 2028.
Follow up. And then on page 2, lines 11 through 18, those they're called cost containment levels. Those have not changed, or are these new numbers that went in here?
So it's both. The numbers what the Reggie program had in place was what they called the cost containment reserve. So when the price gets to a certain level that's dictated in statute, additional allowances are released into the marketplace to help lower the costs overall. So those existing CCRs remain in place. The program review is adding a second cost containment reserve, so it's providing additional market security.
And the third follow-up. The total overall effect of this bill going into effect, instead of the 60 plus million we'd be receiving each year, it's going to end up being only 40 some million in, I don't know what year it was, 2027, 60 days after.
So what we did there for that part of the analysis is part of the Reggie program review. First of all, market forces set the allowance clearing prices. We do not set the allowance clearing prices. So it's the market itself, which is the people buying the allowances, set the market price. Those revenues are what we currently see today, $60 to $65 million. As part of the program review, we did economic modeling to estimate the costs in the future. That modeling is predicting costs will go down in the future, but it's modeling. So it could be higher or it could be lower. It's totally based on what the market actually does in response to the program changes.
Okay. Rosa Almy.
Can you tell us why the modeling would be assuming it's going to go down by that much?
So I'm not a modeler. Modeling is very complicated. One thing I've always been told by the folks that did the modeling for the Reggie states is that the modeling has perfect foresight. It doesn't give in to other market forces that may be in effect, like speculation. So I think that's the reason I've been told that's what the model says.
Does it make sense that over time the amount of money coming in is going to be going down because people other than us are going to be adopting more cost-effective methods of heating and driving?
The trends have been recently since the program changes were announced in 2025. The market prices have gone up. Again, I would be totally speculating. could go up from here. It could go down. We have another auction. There are 4 auctions a year. This month, actually, in a couple weeks. What we have seen between the last auction and what's on the secondary market is prices are currently trending down based on the last auction and what the secondary market is doing today. That's generally a pretty good indicator of what the next auction is going to do, but it's not foolproof for a year from now or 2 years from now.
And if I could, I don't disagree. I would argue, I would expect them to go up, not down. Having said that, as I mentioned, the way this bill positions us in our position of Reggie is whether the market goes up or down. Again, anything above $1 is going to the ratepayers, and our analysis is showing ratepayers are making out no matter way this goes. So we're making ratepayers whole, which I would assume is the goal of this committee. So.
Great. All right, seeing no more questions, I thank you very much for coming. And I'm going to close the work session on HB 1738. We have one more to go, HB 1751, and I'll open that work session now. And that's relative to the, well, it says Start Park, but I'm sure it meant to say State Park, public safety parking surcharge. Yeah, yeah. 1751. Okay, so any thoughts on that one? On the 5% surcharge? This did also pass the House on consent, but we want to look at how it affects finances.
I had a couple questions regarding this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anybody from the agency?
There's
that
no
may
one
be
here
able to
for your
speak to
question.
this?
No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I think there might be someone here from Natural and Cultural Resources. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Capel, DNCR Chief of Staff. Thank you for having us here. And to my left is Darian Messer. She's the Deputy Park Supervisor and the subject matter expert for sure for any questions you might have specific to the bill.
Great. Thank you for coming. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question, I actually like this bill in concept, but I just had a couple questions that I want to kind of meet out to kind of understand it better. The way I'm reading this right now, well, I'll give you an example. One of the towns I represent is Nottingham, and they have a significant sized park there called Pawtuckaway that I believe brings in just between the camping, the beach, brings over just over $1 million a year. And my question was, there's an access fee to the park. Would that access fee to Pawtuckaway be subject to the surcharge to help offset police and fire at Pawtuckaway State Park?
Thank you. That's one of our points here too, is that the language does not exactly match our fee package. Depending on the interpretation of the way it's written, it could include metered parking at the seacoast, or it could include car parking fees, which would only be South Beach, Hampton South Beach, Wallace Sands, Monadnock, and Livermore Falls. Pawtuckaway, like you referenced, that's a day use fee, that's a per person fee, so that would not be included in this.
Follow up. What would have to be done to adapt this to work for, because one of the biggest complaints I hear from my people I represent in Nottingham is that they're substantially providing services to Pawtuckaway fire, police, like if there's a disruptive camp or EMS emergency, and they feel that the town, although all that cost is being passed down to the property tax owner, because that's who's paying for the fire and police, what would need to be done to expand this statute so it addresses day use parks?
Okay, so to address the first part of your statement, we do hire the police departments local to Pawtuckaway for explicit detail service throughout the summer when we know it's going to be busy. So we do contribute in that way to them. One of the concerns that we have with this, though we we think that, you know, the spirit of this legislation, as you said, is beneficial. As you talk about charging people at a toll booth, where you've got a line of cars passing through, our concern is this 5% fee then moves into change. You know, our fees are not great enough to be in whole dollar amounts. So that when you talk about the 3 buckets, day use fees, parking fees, and metered parking, this is way more easily done at a parking meter than it would be at a toll booth when you're then asking somebody for $15.75. Double down with, you know, taking Hampton South Beach, for example, just because of the way that it is. On a busy day now, you're already having traffic up over the bridge into the road, which impacts the municipal services just by existing. Add change making and coins to that, and I do think that would get worse. So that's something to consider in this bill. Not to say that there's not potentially a solution. I don't know it as it stands. But that's would be the primary concern in that for us.
Thank you for taking my question. One more follow-up, Mr. Chair. So I do like this idea, but my follow-up, as it's written right now, because when I read it, that's how I interpreted it, just be the metered parking. Isn't this kind of almost like almost like a cutout just for the Hampton State Parks, where that no other state park in the system's going to benefit from this revenue whatsoever?
It would be Hampton and Rye.
Yeah, so those fire and police would receive funds for this, but no other state parks, municipalities with state parks that feel they have a significant cost for providing responses to those state parks.
Based on the assumption that it's metered parking, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, wait, what does that mean? That there's no other state parks that have metered parking?
The only metered parks are Hampton at Main Beach and North Beach, Northampton, and Genesee and Rye Harbor.
Okay. Representative Ohm?
Yeah, I had a question to follow up on the problems of making change on a 5% surcharge. I recall going to parks, I'm not sure they were just national parks or state parks, where if the ranger's not there, you put $5 in an envelope and you're set for the daily use fee. They have to put now put another 5% on top of the $5 into those envelopes?
25 cents.
That would be based on a per person day use fee, but essentially, yes, in the places where you would use Iron Rangers is what we call those.
Yeah.
If we were talking about vehicle parking or day use fees, there would be the additional charge. The 75 cents would be based on the 3 parks that are $15 per vehicle. That would kind of knock us into a pretty strange place in a coin shortage where we're looking for quarters. But the alternative that I can see to that would be adjusting our fee package to accommodate, which either could lose us a little bit of money or push us to a place where people are questioning the value. In order to get to round numbers, you'd have to go to $14.25 plus the 75 cents, or up to 19 plus the dollar, which would bring us to 20. I have done no work to see if people would be interested to pay $20 to go to the beach. I don't think it would be pleasant. But the $14.25 would bring us, it would be a $16,000 loss, which is 20% of our toilet paper cost at the Seacoast. And as we've noted, we are self-funded, so every dollar matters.
Sounds like there might be a workability problem at collecting this. Representative Schamberg.
I just had a question, Mr. Chairman. The 5% surcharge, was that from the representative, or was that from your department, or how you came up with that number?
I believe it was with the bill as presented. It was not through us.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking this question. And this is truly just a curiosity. So you've identified a possible issue of the non-whole dollar amount. So do I take it that all of these transactions are cash basis? Because if I'm Venmoing something it doesn't really matter if it's a whole dollar amount or non-dollar amount. So if we're taking electronic payments, that will not be an issue.
We do take electronic payments. We have credit card machines at, by and large, most of our parks. We do a large amount of cash as well, though. By nature, people hand us a 20, and so that right now it's an easy transaction of $5 back, and I can see adding coins to that as slowing the process down.
So really, this wouldn't be a problem if we got to a point where there was no cash accepted, everything was electronic to that point. But right now, you're saying there is significant cash still used.
Yes.
Okay. Representative Opal.
And, Spar.
Spar, I'm sorry.
Okay. And we don't have, you don't use any sort of app like you see at these parking places where you can, do the, your QR code and put the app on your phone and pay that way?
We do have a reservation system that is a pay ahead. In the moment, digital pay does not exist in our parks, and I think that would still contribute to a backup in those toll booth lines. Getting connectivity is not great in the places that we operate in.
Anybody else? I guess I'd like to get a straw poll. I mean, based on what we're hearing right now, I thought the bill was a potentially good idea. Right now, I'm leaning towards ITL. I want to just get a show of hands. How many people would support an ITL motion? Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the work session on HB 1751. Thank you for coming. All right, so our exec session starts at 1 o'clock, which is in 20 minutes. Rather than take an hour lunch, let's just take a half-hour lunch, 35 minutes, and be back here at 1:50.
Get through there.
Well, I'm hoping
To there.
I'm hoping most people have already had lunch. We'll come back at 1:15. Thank you. Okay, the time being 1:22, we'll get started on our executive session.
Scheduled for 1 o'clock.
All right, first up, I'll open the executive session on HB 1301 and recognize Representative Murphy for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to ought to pass HB 1301 FN.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Representative Schamberg. And would you like to speak to your motion?
We talked about this extensively in the working session, so it should not be necessary. But just to remind people, this is that cyanobacteria bill, and the fund is being depleted, so we need to take action. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to say that it strengthens New Hampshire's lake protection infrastructure by redirecting a small share of mooring revenue to a major public health and environmental priority.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are voting on House Bill 1301, increasing certain mooring fees and directing such funds to the Cyanobacteria Mitigation and Loan Grant Fund. The motion is OTP. Representative Ulrey.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Representative Tierley is absent. Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Schamberg.
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Elberger.
Yes.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Opal.
Aye.
Representative Spar.
Aye.
Chairman Janagian.
Yes.
18-0 with one absent.
Okay, the vote being 18-0, the OTP motion passes. And I assume there's no objection to consent. Seeing none, it'll go on.
Second committee.
We're the second committee.
Oh, we are already.
Yeah. I will close the executive session on HB 1301 and open the executive session on HB 1542 and recognize our clerk, Representative Ohm, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm going to close. We're going to push off 1542. We need a further work session on 1542. So I'm going to close the executive session on 1542. Yeah, we had talked about having another work session on that bill.
Right.
So we'll push that off. Fiscal note, we're going to get an updated fiscal note and then also an assessment from DOE as to how the new amendment would change that fiscal note. So instead, I'll open the executive session on HB 1594, establishing a weight-based tiered registration fee schedule for electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. And recognize Representative Breyer for a motion.
I'll make a motion to ought to pass as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Elberger. And speak to your motion.
Yes, speak to the motion based on the bill and the way it's written, that it goes from a one surcharge to a multi-tier registration fee, which it looks like most of the vehicles are going to be in that same classification that will pay this $100. It's the same as the current surcharge, and it's going to be revenue neutral. So that's why I think it should pass.
Do we have an amendment?
Well,
There's no
I think
amendment, no.
transportation amended. So would that be just an ought to pass, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was OTP-A out of transportation, but now it's just OTP for
Okay,
us. If
so
we introduced another amendment, then it's
Yeah,
OTP-A. But this
so
is
it should be just
OTP.
OTP.
Yeah. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Who second?
Second by Elberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're voting on House Bill 1594, establishing a weight-based tiered registration fee schedule for electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. The motion is ought to pass. Representative Ulrey,
Yeah.
that's a yes. Clerk
Sound
votes
like a
yes.
yet.
Representative Sodi,
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith,
Yes.
Representative Tierney's absent, Representative Cole,
Yes.
Representative Breyer,
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford,
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy,
Yes.
Representative Almy,
Yes.
Representative Southworth,
Yes.
Representative Malloy,
Yes.
Representative Schamberg,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Elberger,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Opel,
Aye.
Representative Spar, Chairman Denegian,
Yes.
18-0.
The vote being 18-0, the OTP motion passes, and we'll put it on consent if there's no concerns. And I will close the executive session on HB 1594. Now I will open the executive session on HB 1655 and recognize Representative Ford for a motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move that we ITL House Bill 1655.
Do I have a second? Second by Representative Cole. And would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, please. This bill establishes a funding source to maintain the state-owned dams. It establishes a fee on the property that abuts the dam. And I feel that it's unfair because the whole community benefits from the bodies of water. And so I think it's unfair to the people who own property around the dam.
Thank you. Anybody else? Representative Malloy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a bill that is looking at the broad picture, big picture of who we are in New Hampshire, and the value of this bill is that downstream, if you're downstream from one of these dams that can give way, it's a problem. If you are living on if you're actually assessed for this and the lake is strong and can be maintained, that's a good property value. It increases your property value if you're living there. The recreational opportunities would be lost. And sometimes we have to look at the good that we all do as a society to preserve what is great about New Hampshire, and that's how I feel about this. And I think that we should think about that deeply when we make decisions like this.
Okay. Anybody else? Representative Opel?
I would have preferred a motion to interim study. I think we all know that this is an urgent issue. It is one Representative Almy has told us the state's been discussing for 25 years. I would disagree a little bit with my colleague, Representative Malloy, and I think Representative Ford is right in that simply imposing a tax on those people who own property around the lake ignores the fact that there is a benefit to the entire community, to the entire state, in fact. So I think the problem is real, the problem is urgent, the funding source is wrong, which is why I would have preferred an interim study motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Spar.
Yeah, I feel strongly, I think you said it, Chair, in the working session, that this is a big problem that's going to come down the road. The Goose Pond restoration of the dam the last couple of years is going to cost, I think the final bill is around $7.5 to $8 million. And most of that, fortunately, was leftover ARPA money. I think it was 90%, Mr. O. 93%. So, you know, we kind of, you know, push that off to a federal level expense, which is nice. But that's just one dam, and we got hundreds and hundreds around the state, and a lot of them are deferred, and there's a big capital cost coming down the pike. I'd like to see if we can find a group of people that are on both sides of the aisle who could work on this to figure out long-term financing for these large projects, because I don't think these bills, this one's not working too well, it sounds like, and the other one is just a pittance. It's $500,000 a year. It's just not going to get anywhere what we need, and we do need to figure out a solution so we're not, you know, hurting, you know, our overall state budget.
Right. I mean, I would encourage those who are going to be here next year to potentially, you know, introduce a new bill that might figure out how to fund it. I think we all agree that it's a problem that needs to be solved. Representative Elmy, did you have something?
I feel strongly that we have to move ahead with something that means something. And that other bill doesn't mean much of anything. So at least IS, as far as I'm concerned. I'll be voting against ITL.
Okay. Representative, did you have your light is on, so.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Representative Elberger.
Thank you. This is a question for you, and that is, there have been a whole lot of bills that we have ITL'd or put on interim study. Is there a way that we can just make sure that whoever is here next year will actually pay attention to some of these things?
No.
Can we leave, I mean, just in terms of, can we leave a little note saying here's a bunch of areas that need to be addressed, and we couldn't reach agreement on it this year. We really encourage you to figure it out.
Well, so the bills that we have to come back in the fall and address those ISs with a report. And the report will either be, we recommend this for we recommend this for future legislation, or we don't recommend it for future legislation. And that report can also talk about why or how, you know, to do that. If a bill is ITL'd and you feel like it would have been a good bill, then you encourage either you or someone you know to introduce something that might move forward. Okay, seeing no more desire to comment, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're voting on House Bill 1655 FN, establishing a funding source for maintaining state-owned dams. The motion is ITL. Representative Ulrey.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Representative Tierney's absent. Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
No.
Representative Southworth.
No.
Representative Malloy.
No.
Representative Schomburg.
No.
Representative Bolton.
No.
Representative Elberger.
No.
Representative Bay.
No.
Representative Opal.
Nay.
Representative Spar.
No.
Chairman Janigian.
Yes.
I count 9, 2, 5 to 8, 9 to
9 to 9.
Count 9 votes in favor
Okay.
and 9 votes.
So the vote being 9 to 9 is a tie, but we're going to, there's a rule in this biennium that the chair can decide what the motion is. What's that?
Pick.
No, I can pick. So the motion will be ITL. The vote will be 9 to 9. So consent or minority report?
What would be the motion?
The motion would be IS.
IS, okay.
Authors, Almy.
Yeah. Okay, so Malloy, Representative Malloy, you're writing the IS?
That goes on consent. No.
No.
I know you were joking.
Okay, what was your, what?
It's already in the report. Malloy or Malloy? Malloy, thank you.
I'll close the executive session on HB 1655 and open the executive session on HB 1738 and recognize Representative Murphy for a motion. Second by Representative Schamberg. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative Murphy?
Greenhouse gas initiative, and the concern there was, again, if we fall out of compliance, you know, we potentially could do an amount of rebate to our ratepayers. I don't think any of us want to do that, so I would.
Okay, other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like
Yeah.
to comment that it adds, excuse me, it adds guardrails to protect ratepayers from price spikes, this bill.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are voting on House Bill 1738 FN relative to ratepayer benefits from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. The motion is ought to pass. Representative Ulrey.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Schamberg.
Schamberg, yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Elberger.
Yes.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Opal.
Aye.
Representative Spar. Chairman Janigian.
Yes.
18-0 with one absence.
Okay. The vote being 18-0, the motion of OTP passes. And that will go on consent unless there's concern. Seeing none, consent. And I'll close the executive session on HB 1738 and open our final executive session of the day on HB 1751 and recognize Representative Breyer for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to ITL.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. Okay. Second by Representative Cole. And would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. The bill as written, only addresses, surcharges, at metered parking and kiosk parking. Doesn't really address, the state parks, all the state parks. So it looks like as far as like to implement this under the current system for all state parks, it sounds like it's, not feasible at this time. And that's why I'm making the recommendation to ITL.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just had a question with Representative Breyer. You were also saying with that park where you are, like, the real problem is with these people who are there for like a week, you said, and it's a significant burden?
Well, I used a park that's in my district.
Right.
And what some of the issues are, for example, I'll say again, Pawtuckaway has the day use beach, and it also has the campground. And I've heard from constituents that sometimes at the campground, some people get a little rowdy, and
Right.
they'll have to call local law enforcement in to address the noise complaints and so forth.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no more comments, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are voting on House Bill 1751 FN relative to a state Park Public Safety Parking Surcharge. The motion is ITL. Representative Ulrey.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Sodi.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Representative Cole.
Yes.
Representative Breyer.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ford.
Yes.
Representative Mary Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Almy.
Yes.
Representative Southworth.
Yes.
Representative Malloy.
Yes.
Representative Schamberg.
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Elberger.
Yes.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Opel.
Aye.
Representative Spar. Representative Janigian.
Yes.
18 to 0.
The vote being 18-0, the ITL motion passes, and this will go on consent, barring any objections. Seeing none, we'll go on consent. Okay. We'll close the executive session on HB 1751, and now we'll just recap who's doing reports. First of all, I would like all the reports in by no later than 5 o'clock on Tuesday. If there's anyone that can, what's that? No, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock Tuesday is fine. So just to recap, HB 1301 is Representative Murphy. Majority, there is no minority. HB 1542, we're going to have, we'll have a work session. I'll probably schedule for next Monday. We won't have any, we'll cancel this Wednesday. We don't need to come back Wednesday. Because my concern would be, although we could come back Wednesday and finish 1542, the issue would be if we're not ready, if we don't have the amendment, if they don't have the fiscal note, whatever, I don't want to have to schedule another one. That'd be a wasted time trip up here. So we'll schedule 1542, which would be our only bill left next Monday. No, the two that we did this morning, those there was a deadline on. Well, yeah, there's a deadline on these, but it's March 19th. Yeah. Right. So we'll schedule this for Monday next week. Then there's HB 1594. Breyer is writing the report. There's no minority report. HB 1655 is Ford. Majority report, and then the minority report is being written by Malloy. I think that's the only minority report in today's list here. And then HB 1738. Wait a minute. Yeah, 1738 is Murphy. Majority report. And HB 1751 is Breyer, majority report. And actually, we had two this morning. HB 1420 is oh, you know, I didn't write. Who made the majority motion on that? And what is, you're doing what's your OTPA?
Yes.
Okay.
This has not been.
With amendment 0889.
Okay. And then HB 1648 is Representative Almy. And that's it. There's only a majority report on that. Okay, so those are all the reports and the report authors. Again, if you can get those to me by Tuesday, 5 p.m. at the latest, I would appreciate it. Okay, so that's that. And then, as I said, the only bill we have left is HB 1542. I'll be scheduling that for Monday, a week from today. So that's the 10th. I'll schedule a work session and an exec session. We should be able to finish it up. Yeah.
Instead of coming back another day, could you make it during lunch on a Thursday?
No, because we have a work session.
It will never get done over lunch.
Yeah. I mean, you can plan on, if I scheduled it at 10, we're probably gonna be out of here by 11 or 11:30.
Just another long trip for folks.
I know.
For some folks.
I know. but I don't think we have
He
time during.
didn't show up today, so.
Do you have any insight, and maybe I'm missing deadlines here, but is there any likelihood of getting a second bill after Thursday's session?
I don't, there's no more second committee bills, are there? No, we're done.
We're done? Okay.
Yeah. No, the Senate, I mean, crossover, we're gonna start getting Senate bills. So what I mean is, we've got one House bill left.
We're done with House.
Yeah,
After Monday.
after Monday, we should be done with House bills, yeah. Okay, so that's why I wanna try to get all the ducks in a row, not try to do it Wednesday and still need more info. By Monday, we should be able to get all the info we need and dispatch that bill. So that's, any other questions? That's pretty much it on my end. All right. Thank you, everyone.